Hi, I'm Dave here at Krieghoff UK. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to change the ejector springs in a Krieghoff K-80. Now the ejector springs are something that we would recommend to change if your ejectors are feeling a bit weak. As the ejector springs are a working part, they do get tired and eventually they do need to get changed out for new ones. So the ejector springs do get tired, and if you're noticing this, it could be time to change them out and fit new ones. Now this is something that you can do at home with tools that you may have, and I'll just go through some of the tools you may need to do this job. We use a hammer, a flathead driver, some pin punches and a Torx 20 driver. We do also use a little bit of thread locker and some grease in this video. So we're going to start by breaking the gun down, because all we need is the forearm, and specifically the forearm iron. To remove the forearm iron from the wood, 2 screws inside the forearm, which usually are Torx 20. On older models you may find the screws require a flathead driver, so use the appropriate wrench for this. They attach to the rosettes on the outside, so once removed the forearm iron will lift out and it will give you full access to everything you need. Keep the 2 forearm screws safe to one side. You can press the forearm catch to lever the forearm iron out, and it should slide out quite comfortably. We'd recommend using a mat or a cloth to prevent any damage to any surfaces for this job. These are the ejector springs we'll be replacing. They're fitted to the ejector hammer, which we'll be removing shortly. But at this stage I can just show you the variations between models. Here on the left we have the newer model. You can see the ejector hammer is smaller with longer springs. The method to change the springs is the same on both. So let's get back to changing the ejector springs. First we have to remove the retaining pin, which prevents the ejector hammer coming out. To do this, we use a pin punch to knock the retaining pin out from the inside. Here's the retaining pin. Keep this safe to one side as it's easily lost. Next up we need to disengage the ejector hammer sear. To do this we have to lever the sear outwards. Use a flathead driver to do this. Always make sure where you're pointing the forearm iron is safe, as the tension on the springs is very strong, and if it comes out accidentally it can do some serious damage. As you lever the sear outwards, point it safely downwards to control where it releases and to prevent losing any parts. Once it's out, you can see the ejector hammer assembly here. Remove the old springs from the ejector hammer. Then give the ejector hammer a wipe over to remove any old grease. We suggest adding a light coat of grease to the surfaces and to the rods. Don't overdo it and spread it nice and evenly. You can now fit the new ejector springs back on. Once you've got the new springs on, the ejector hammer can be fitted back in. So slide it in and make sure the sear recess is pointing downwards, as this needs to engage with the sear. The ejector hammer rods need to guide into the holes when fitted back in, so make sure they do before applying any pressure. At this stage we're going to be applying quite a lot of pressure to a part, so just take extra care when doing this. Now, holding the forearm iron firmly with one hand, keep it away from the area you're putting pressure on. Then, using the flathead driver, press against the ejector hammer and press it until the sear drops in place. Take your time not to slip. Once the sear drops in place and is engaged, it's now safe. And now we're ready to fit the retaining pin back in. Press it in by hand, but then use a pin punch to just tap it in flush. You can now fit the forearm iron back into the forearm wood. Guide it into the recess and press it firmly in place. Holding both the forearm iron and the wood, give it a little tap to just make sure that it is fully in place. You can now fit the fore end screws back in. We'd always suggest using a little bit of thread locker on the screws just to stop vibration from loosening them. Now, once you've tightened the screws back up and you're happy, you can pop that back onto your gun and check everything is back to normal. Okay, so that is the end of the video. That was changing the ejector springs. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and remember to subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.